Well, we've already seen one smartphone launch in 2021, that's the Chinese variant of the Xiaomi Mi 11. And now we have an Indian variant for another Xiaomi phone, that's the Mi 10i. The I stands for India apparently, and this phone is geared and customized and even made in India. I'm obviously making a video because after sitting through the launch event, I was interested in this phone enough to share it with you. So here are some of the things that you need to know about the new or rather upcoming Xiaomi Mi 10Ti. Now let's start with the price tag. This thing will be priced at around 25,000 rupees or less than that. We'll get to the exact price tag in a minute, but that's something you have to keep in mind. As we discuss through the features, remember this is a less than 24,000 rupees phone. And it's going to be one of the first or rather the cheapest phones to offer a first ever 108 megapixel ultra high resolution camera in this price range. Every other phone out there like the Galaxy M51 or the OnePlus Nord, they do have very good quality cameras, but none of them have this flagship grade 108 megapixel sensor. And I think those are the two phones that this phone is trying to answer, because we already seen the Mi 10T Pro, which is their top of the line flagship, coming in at around 40,000 rupees. So this thing is, I guess, their answer to OnePlus Nord, because they have heavily compared it to those two phones in their launch event. It comes in at a unique color called Pacific Sunrise, which I think looks really good. It's a departure from the glossy, colorful finishes that we see to a more matte finish design. It's a lot similar to something that we've seen from Huawei in a very recent year. I think in the Mate 40 Pro we had a similar finish. So basically this matte finish doesn't allow a lot of fingerprints on the back, so that it looks really good. It comes in three different storage variants, 664, 6128 and 8128. The 664GB variant starts at around 20,999, which is again very cheap. The 6128 starts about 22,000 and the 8128 will cost about 24,000. Those are pretty competitive prices, on par with something like the OnePlus Nord or the Galaxy M51, or even significantly less as I recall. And since this is the latest phone, the hardware set packed in it will be latest, and it will be better than the phones of the yesteryear like the OnePlus Nord that we have seen. So since the main feature of this phone is the camera, let's talk about that camera. It's a new 108 megapixel HM2 sensor. This HM2 sensor is basically a newer design iteration of the existing 108 megapixel sensor. So far they are saying this is the slimmest sensor ever made in the 100 plus megapixel category. So the camera hump will be much smaller, or at least 10 to 15% smaller is what they are saying. There is one thing to note about this sensor is that to accommodate this smaller sensor, the pixels had to be reduced to 0.7 microns. Now they did address this issue that we have, we have this concern with smaller sensors being kind of dark, because the pixel sizes, basically the bigger the pixel, the brighter will be your image. It has pretty much become an industry known knowledge that your individual pixel sizes should be large, so that there is plenty of light in the images. To combat that, they have introduced two new features that can help you with the smaller pixel sizes. Firstly, the camera structure itself seems to have a wall-like thing around each individual pixels. I guess this is a feature of the newer 108 megapixel HM2 sensor itself, where each individual pixel has a 4-pillar wall around it, which basically allows light to stay inside and not escape around or bleed out into the other sensors. So this essentially means whatever light an individual pixel sees, it will be retained until it reaches the sensor itself, and that will be retained in the image, or at least that's the idea. The second thing is more of a software feature. They call it Smart ISO. It's exactly what you think. It's smart exposure and ISO control with the help of the pre-built algorithms. Like basically it looks at the scene and determines what's the exact ISO and exposure that the scene should have. I've never been one to be a fan of automatic controls on smartphones, at least, because even on professional cameras, automatic controls are not that great. Right now I'm recording in full manual, like I'm setting everything except the focus, because the focus is usually pretty good on modern day phones, but everything else is pretty unreliable. So I'm fixing the exposure, white balance, and I'm recording this video so that it looks consistent. So I'm not really sure how this smart ISO is going to be drastically different, but I guess Xiaomi has done some special things. We'll find out more as we get it in our hands. And also with bigger sensors, like with more megapixel sensors, low light performance becomes a challenge, because there are far more pixels to capture information, and if there is not enough light to allow the information to be captured, you get a lot of noise. So higher resolution sensors usually don't perform well in low light. So that's why you have to introduce concepts like pixel binning. Pixel binning is basically combining multiple pixels into one. So for example, if there are 4 pixels, you are averaging those 4 pixels into one so that it looks better. So it's called 4-in-1 pixel binning, which essentially gives you about 1.6 micrometer of effective pixel size. But here they have dialed up the binning size to 9. So it's 9-to-1, meaning that 9 pixels are being binned into one. And they can afford it because there are over 100 million pixels in that sensor. So this 9:1 binning will combined with their new night mode 2.0 software feature essentially gives them much better night mode control. Of course, this is only for photos. This pixel binning, I'm not sure how well it works for video. They didn't really talk about that much. And I guess it won't be there because real-time video processing for night mode, it's only present on their flagship models like the Mi 11, and it takes a lot of processing power. And since this thing is a mid-range phone, probably the night mode video won't be there, but the night mode photos are definitely on par with everything else that we have seen. Along with that main 108 megapixel sensor, there are 3 more cameras. One is the 8 megapixel ultra wide and a 2 megapixel depth and 2 megapixel macro sensor. They didn't even mention the resolution in their live stream. They just said a macro and a depth sensor. I had to search and see that it's actually 2 megapixel, meaning that it won't be very good. You'll probably get better macro shots with the ultra wide sensor itself. If you didn't know, an ultra wide camera has a lesser plane of distance, like a focusing plane will be much shorter than the larger megapixel sensors. So if you want to focus on something nearby, you can use the ultra wide lens. Now there is 4K video support and a couple of cool modes like this super macro mode, the clone video and photo mode, time lapse selfie, a couple of things that the 10T and the 10T Pro already had. It has been brought over to this, and I think that's pretty cool. I can see a couple of scenarios where I would have used that mode in my phone if it was built in. Now, if I had to do something like that, I would have to do a lot of things in editing, but it even has some preset LUTs or filters, as you call them, that basically changes one color to another. There is something called a cyberpunk filter, which I think changes everything to a neon look. It should be pretty cool. There is a 16 megapixel front camera that can do 1080p video with EIS. Nothing really special about that. Let's come to the hardware. This thing features the latest gen Snapdragon 750G processor, which is again a 5G compatible processor. It supports global 5G and it's built on the Cortex A77 architecture, which is actually a newer architecture compared to the higher performing Snapdragon 765G. In fact, this thing beats out the 765G in terms of raw performance. Here are a couple of benchmarks and stuff, but I'm not really an advocate for numeric benchmarks. I feel that real world performance has its own kind of way of evaluating your device, because you're not evaluating it side by side in a lab environment, right? There are a couple of things that come into picture, like the surrounding room humidity, the temperature, the device's age, and the background applications, whole lot of things. So yeah, I mean, it will be a very high performing device, no doubt, but benchmarks aren't really a good way of measuring that. It has a newer UFS 2.2 storage, not as fast as the flagship grade UFS 3.1, but it has something called a write booster, so it should improve the write speeds, meaning that the data which is being written or something that you're downloading, for example, it will be much faster because of the built-in UFS cache. To keep the phone cool, there are 11 temperature sensors all over the device, and there's a thick copper cooling vapor chamber which supposedly distributes heat very well. Now, yeah, I mean, the thicker the copper chamber is, the better the heat distribution will be. But it's not the only thing that ensures the phone remains cool. The software and the clock speed of the CPU, which is governed by a software called the Governor, strange name, but the CPU Governor is basically like a preset which allows the CPU to range from one clock speed to another. So when they say this phone has a 2.8 GHz octa-core CPU, it basically means that the CPU can go up to a maximum of 2.8 GHz. Doesn't mean that it stays there forever. Those will be only few short second pulses and they won't last very long. So the thermal conductivity of your phone really depends on at what clock speed your CPU is governed at. But we have seen promising things before with budget phones like the Poco F1, which despite having a plastic body, which is, not great for thermal conductivity, it remained very cool even with high intensity applications, thanks to that thick copper vapor chamber. So I am expecting good thing with this. Xiaomi has done successful implementations of it in the past, and I think they can do it again now. The display on here is a 120Hz dynamic refresh rate display, which is an IPS LCD panel. Again, they didn't mention this in their live stream. They just said it's a dynamic display with a whole lot of refresh rate and 240Hz touch sampling rate. That's all great. The display is actually very good, but it is IPS LCD and not AMOLED. So that's something the OnePlus Nord and the Galaxy M51 still have an advantage over. They still have better contrast ratio compared to an IPS LCD panel. Now AMOLED comes with a downgrade that the colors won't last the same very long. Like AMOLED pixels are organic pixels, meaning that they degrade over time. My own Galaxy Note 8 has shown signs of degradation where the black colors don't appear as black anymore. They kind of seem dark grey or green. So that does happen to an AMOLED panel 2, 3, 4 years later. So AMOLED is not immortal, unlike IPS LCD. My old phone, which is a 5-year-old phone with IPS LCD, it's still working fine, same as the first day. And it's much easier to manage refresh rate with LCD as opposed to AMOLED. I know that some phones like the ROG Phone 3 have done a very high refresh rate AMOLED display, but it's tough to do that on a budget. So I'm okay with IPS LCD here in this phone. In other features, it has a linear vibration motor for improved haptics, so it should have better vibration response compared to other budget phones, at least on theory. It has a dual speaker setup similar to the earpiece and the bottom firing setup that we see in most phones, and it even has a headphone jack, so I guess that's a feature now. In terms of protection, it has Corning Gorilla Glass both on the front and back. That should offer pretty good drop protection, even though the scratch resistance is not that much better ever since Gorilla Glass 3. I myself am using the Gorilla Glass 5 based phone, and there are plenty of scratches on it after using it normally. So it is not scratch resistant, but it is pretty resilient to being cracked when dropped. So yeah, that's good. And I was surprised to find that this thing has an IP rating of IP53. Now for IP rating, in case you didn't know, the two numbers stand for dust and water resistance. So the first number is for dust resistance and second is for water. Dust has a maximum value of 6, so meaning that if you have an IP6 something phone, it's completely dust proof. And the second number is for water and the maximum value is 9. So if you have a phone with IP69 water rating, 69 is a great number, that's what she said. There are very few phones with IP69 because IP68 is much easier to obtain than 69. 69 is actually very difficult. This thing is IP53, meaning that it has fair amount of dust resistance, meaning that it has 5 out of 6 for dust, but it has 3 out of 9 for water. So it can handle your everyday splashes like every other phone out there. Like even OnePlus promises that their phone can handle water just fine despite not having any IP rating. So yeah, they have said that this is a splash resistant phone or splash proof phone, but yeah, I would still be careful around water with this thing. The whole thing is powered by a 4820 mAh battery which is capable of fast charging up to 33 watts. And hilariously, they even said in their live stream that the 33 watt fast charger is provided in the box, like it's an amazing feature that no one else is doing. I mean, I hate that we are headed towards a future where we are considering these tiny things like a headphone jack or power brick included in the box. All these things would be surprising and great happy news to us. Why you do this, Apple? Actually, it's not Apple. They can do whatever they want. Why you do this, Xiaomi? But yeah, I guess they were preparing us for the Mi 11 experience. If or when Mi 11 comes to India, we will know that it will not have a charger. They have already unveiled that. So I guess they are saying that, hey, guess what? The Mi 10i does have a charger in the box. So that's a bargain at 23,000. I'm not gonna lie, the price tag is actually really good, and this phone is everything that we expected and more at the price tag. So this is definitely one of the best phones to get out there. This phone will be available on 7th of January. That's just I think 1 or 2 days from now. Yeah, 2 days from now as of this video. So you can get it from Amazon or Mi.com at the mentioned price tags. What are your thoughts on the Mi 10i? Do you think that this phone was worth the hype? And I mean, I definitely think it is. For this price, you're not getting that value from any other phone. And like I said, the more competition there is amongst manufacturers, the better it is for us consumers. We'll get more and more value for our money. So yeah, I'm excited for the Mi 10i. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And until next time, take good care of yourself. Enjoy the 33 watt charger that comes in the box. And I'll see you soon. Cheers.